Today I'm making a bak kwa or a Chinese style meat jerky but with beef and chicken instead of the more traditional pork. This roasted meaty snack gets addictive and inspires long queues whenever Chinese New Year rolls around. It's actually super easy to make, so yeah, let's do this. Let's start with the first version here. I'm using beef for this one. I have 400 grams of minced beef here. First, I'm adding in brown sugar as well as white sugar. Light soy sauce goes in next, followed by fish sauce and dark sweet soy sauce or kicap manis. Next, I'm adding in sesame oil as well as rice vinegar. Here I'm adding in Chinese 5-spice powder as well as white pepper. Now this part is optional, but I'm adding a chili powder or cayenne pepper here. This punch of spice goes amazingly well with the sweetness of the bak kwa. And then we get all that mixed in with the mince. Now you can use a spoon, but using your hands would get a much faster and more even mix. So just get in there. Also, it's really therapeutic. I like. Once it's all nice and mixed in, cover it and we are leaving this to marinate. Overnight would be the best, but minimum 3 hours. 3 hours later, or overnight for me, and we are now ready to roast. Preheat the oven to 160 degrees Celsius first. Using a sheet pan like this, I'm laying baking paper so that it's easier to clean up. You can also use aluminum foil, or if you're using a non-stick pan, you can do this straight onto the pan. I'm using a non-stick pan, but I'm going to roast both the beef and the chicken bak kwa consecutively, and this would be easier cleanup. With a spoon, spread the mincemeat thinly on the pan. Now you can just use a spoon to spread it out, to be honest, but you know what, just so I have a more even surface, I am going to lay cling film over, or baking paper as well. And then we are rolling it with a rolling pin. Or if you don't have one, then just use a round bottle like I am right here. Once you get a nice spread of mincemeat, peel off the cling film, and then we are baking this in the oven for 15 minutes. At the 15-minute mark, take the bak kwa out, drain away any extra liquid that might have come up, and carefully flip it over. Now put it back in the oven for another 15 minutes. The bak kwa should be fully cooked now. Cut the bak kwa into smaller squares like this. Meanwhile, prepare the honey glaze. I have 2 tablespoons of honey here, and I'm also adding 2 tablespoons of warm water. Mix that up so that we form a honey water. Now you're going to need a rack like this, and meanwhile set the oven to the grill or broiler mode so that the heat is only coming from the top of the oven. Lay the bak kwa pieces over the rack. And then brush on the honey water glaze over the bak kwa pieces. And that's chicken bak kwa, by the way. Obviously my video planning is not very good, but the recipe for the chicken bak kwa is coming up right after this. Pop the bak kwa back into the oven for just 5 minutes. Also increase the temperature to 220 degrees Celsius. Just 2 to 5 minutes in the grill depending on your oven heat and strength. You really don't want to dry this out, so be careful. Flip the bak kwa over, give the other side a honey glaze and pop it back into the oven to grill the other side. It's basically cooked already, so just take it out when you get a nice color on your bak kwa. Personally, I'm happy once my bak kwa gets a nice charring on the edges. Okay, so let's do the chicken bak kwa now. This is a much simpler recipe. Just to preface, you can use either of these recipes for any meat of choice. I have 250 grams of chicken mince here. I'm adding in just plain sugar this time round. To that, I'm adding the light soy sauce, oyster sauce, 5 spice powder, white pepper, and a hint of sesame oil. I forgot to film this, but I also added in a hint of fish sauce. Same thing, get that all nice and mixed in. And yes, this time around I'm just using my spoon here. For some reason the chicken is just a lot more spoony, mixable-y, yeah, vocabulary. Same thing, leave it to marinate for at least 3 hours, or the best would be overnight. And then it's basically the same cooking process for the chicken bak kwa. As you can see, I'm using the non-stick pan here without the baking paper. And that's 2 bak kwa recipes for beef and chicken, although I have to say that you can use the same recipes for pretty much any meat that you want to use, okay? Sweet, salty, and Moorish. This is a favorite snack during Chinese New Year, but pretty much for any time of the year, really. So I hope you give this a go, and yeah, bye!